Really worrying new figures show that there has been, would you believe, a 57% rise in calls made to debt charities compared to this time last year. That's huge. Well, our consumer expert Claire Barrett joins me now. I had to reread that, you know, when we were talking about it. 57%.
Yeah, it's a big jump, and that's in the first 2 weeks of January that National Debtline is reporting. But, Lorraine, I've spoken to Step Change and to Citizens Advice, the two other really big free sources of debt advice, and it's a similar picture there. They are seeing an uptick in calls, and the big change is the jump in household arrears. Lots more debts from bills, the typical person phoning up, and of course it's energy bills that are the particular culprit, because if you think about it, people have had energy debts in many cases building up for years. It's not just this winter, it's last winter, the winter before that, and this winter is the first one where we haven't had these major government help schemes to help the poorest, but also we haven't had the winter fuel payment for around 10 million pensioners. That's been taken away. Rachel Reeves, of course, talking later this morning about how she's going to bring back growth for the economy, but the economy is flatlining. And in October's budget, she made those changes to national insurance that employers pay. Now, we talked about it on Budget Day, but we're really starting to see the early effects of that before the changes take place in April. Lots of surveys we've reported in the Financial Times saying that employers are putting on unofficial hiring freezes. They're not replacing people when they leave, but also they're letting go of staff. And if you work part-time or if you've got a temporary contract, they're cutting back the number of hours that they're offering people. Now, it's not reflected in the official labour market statistics yet, but certainly I think it's a factor, because if your income's dropping, you're not getting as much work as you were, or you've lost your job and you're having difficulty finding a new one because of the hiring freezes. It all adds up. So lots more people worrying.
The thing is as well, when you start to get those red letters and you start to get yourself in a pickle, an awful lot of us, we do ignore it. We sort of put our head in the sand and we say, I don't want to have to deal with this, and that's the worst thing you can do.
But also, my long experience of writing about personal finance, debt is the equivalent of shame. People don't want to talk about it. They don't want to admit, you know, to their best friends, to their nearest and dearest, like the fact that we've got in debt. We really blame ourselves when there's so many external factors at the moment. Of course, according to Step Change, 21 million people think that they'll have a tougher financial year this year than last year. So you're not alone. But the worst thing that people do is try and get themselves out of problem debt themselves, going online or going on social media and looking for a solution. And there are lots of commercial companies and adverts that will pop up offering you some kind of solution, whether it's like consolidating your loans into one big debt, taking out a high-cost loan, perhaps from a payday lender, you know, or other forms of solution. But the problem with those, if you approach one of those sorts of companies, they're only going to sell you for money the solution that that company specialises in. Whereas if you approach a debt charity, you'll speak to a professional, trained, non-judgmental debt advisor who's going to look at all of the potential solutions in the market and pick the right one for you based on your circumstances, rather than how much profit they might be able to make out of you. But the sticking point is, I think, a lot of people think, oh, I don't need help from a charity. I'm only a few months behind with some bills. This is a problem I can get out of myself. But the charities themselves say, get over the hump. We're mostly funded by the finance industry as a charity. So if you get in touch early, we can do a lot more. But if you start trying to solve this problem yourself, your debts are probably going to increase and become harder to resolve. So don't hesitate, is my advice to anyone watching.
Absolutely. And for God's sake, don't go to a loan shark. Don't try to do that. I mean,
that's on the rise too.
Oh, that is terrifying. You know, you can get yourself into a terrible, terrible debt and danger. Big tax deadline this week, isn't it?
This Friday.
Yes.
The 31st of January. And again,
January's over on Friday, thank goodness.
It's a bad month. Around 10 million people now complete self-assessment. They have to put their tax return in. So 31st of January, that's the deadline for getting your return in, but also paying any tax that you owe. If you're watching this and thinking, I can't afford to pay, lots of people don't know about a service that HMRC offer called Time to Pay. You can spread your tax bill over up to 12 months, however many months you need, rather than paying it all in one go. time to pay. The good thing about this is that you don't need to speak to anyone. Probably a good idea because the HMRC phone lines have rammed
you're
at
never
the
going to
moment.
get to talk to anybody, no.
The vast majority of people, if you've got your digital tax account set up, you can just go online. I want to do time to pay. You don't need to tell them why. You don't need to come up with an excuse or say something's happened, which people often feel they need to do. Click on the box, spread it over up to 12 months. Now, you will pay some interest, it's around 7%, but frankly, that will probably be a lot less than if you miss the deadline and get charged the £100 fine, and that's just the first fine, and the longer you don't pay for, the more the fines can go on. So that's a really, really good message to get out there if anyone's worried about paying. Time to pay, spread the cost.
That's really good. And you've got to be careful about scams.
Yes, so HMRC
texting and things.
have issued quite an unprecedented warning about this. Scammers, as we know, they like to target scams based on things that are happening in that time of year because we could just look at our phone, be a bit distracted. So what's going to get us at this time of year? Perhaps the offer of a tax rebate, saying that you've got money owing to you. We're all so desperate for money. So
this is the kind of thing people are getting sent.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the clue with this text message here is there is a link in that text. So my golden rule, never click on a link. Always start from the position that it's a scam. But if you look at that email address, that website address, it's not an official one. It's the same with the emails that people are sending, often very convincing emails. It's a phishing scam. You click on these links and it will take you to a really realistic looking page that's going to be asking for your personal details and your bank details, allegedly to give you this tax refund, but actually you're just handing your details to the scammers and they can come back and try and defraud you at a later date. So be very careful. Check your online tax account if you think that you are owed money or owe money. Don't trust all of these scams.
Absolutely not. Still time to make a wee bit of money this month, though.
Yes,
if
some
you're
quick
struggling
tips.
A bit.
Okay, so Christmas vouchers. Lots of people got a voucher at Christmas, but they haven't spent it. Spend it, or did you know you can cash them in?
I did not know that.
So if it's a voucher for something that you've probably never used, you can't sell it to a friend, there's a website called cardyard.co.uk. You can sell them for close to face value. You won't get the entire amount back, but, you know, could be a useful thing rather than it expiring. Selling online. People often worry about, will they have tax to pay if they sell goods online on sites like eBay, Vinted, Marketplace? The answer is, if it's your stuff that you're selling and it's second-hand, you won't. There's no tax to pay. It's only if you're buying stuff to sell on, you're trading, where you could have tax to pay if you make more than £1,000. Another really quick way of getting in money, switching banks. We've done a little graphic. £175 you can get in your account in a few months if you switch to First Direct or Nationwide. They're also offering the same, up to £150 at Santander and £100 at TSB, which you could boost to £160 if you stay with the bank for 6 months and sign up for cashback. So check the T's and C's, see if you qualify, but good to get some money coming in. Ready to boost your savings, grow your pension pot and make every penny count? Well, we've got loads of Money Clinic videos right here on the channel. Check out this one for even more expert advice.